Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. I am here today to do a really quick little tutorial to show you how I created this mixed media or little painted background that I used to make the tag flip in my previous video. So I just thought I'd do a really quick little tutorial because I've got some sunlight and relative peace and quiet, and I'll show you how I made it. So I'll just grab the paper. I used this little artist's pastel pad that I got, I think, just from a cheap shop, but it's 150 GSM paper. So it's a little bit thick, but it's a bit textured, so I think any sort of watercolory paper, artist paper would be quite good. I just used this because I found it in my drawer, and I actually just quite like it because it's a little bit thicker and it's got a bit of texture, so it just looks really lovely. Okay, so all I used, and you can just use whatever you have, but I was just using some paints that I found. So I had these two little test pots of resin paper, resin paint. One's this pretty peachy color called Cornflower, and this is a little pale pink one called Cupid. These just old test pots I must have brought once upon a time. They're actually a bit dried out. And then that's what I used for these two colors, and then I also used this aqua and beach glass paint, so it's like a minty one and a darker green, which I mixed together. I also used some Heidi Swapp Color Shine, and to make the polka dots I used some of this tissue paper that my lovely friend Mandy, who is a little space of my own, wrapped a recent parcel that she sent me in, but she has actually sent me some before and I absolutely love it. So let me show you what I did. I'll do a couple, and I used, when I did this one, these cheap, I think that might be a all-rightish paintbrush, but I just used these really cheap paintbrushes that I brought in a pack on clearance somewhere for my son, but there's one that's 3/4 of an inch, and then this round one, and also this one. So I used them dry and I really liked how that looked, so I just started off, I think, with the pink. So choose your background colors. These ones are going to be a bit thicker, and all I did was did some random stripes, and I'm using this with a dry paintbrush, so it's a bit thick in places, but I like how the texture it sort of gave it towards the edge. I might have had a little bit much on that one, but so I just do some long strokes, some across strokes. I think I mean, this is not, I'm by no means any kind of mixed media expert or creative person, artist, because I can't draw to save my life, but I do like creating these backgrounds. So I just do a little bit of pink, and then I added some peach in similar strokes. That one's quite a lot on it, but I like leaving some white coming through, do some bits thicker, some bits like that. I may as well do the other ones while I'm here, so I'll just move those over there. Sort of do everything in layers. I haven't done a lot of mixed media, but I have done a few mixed media, watched a few tutorials from my friend Danny over at Pop Fizz Paper, and those sort of ideas and inspiration is what I use. Who else do I can't think of anything. Sorry, I'm not quite prepared for this. This is just me giving it a try. However I think will look okay. This was I've gone through phases of doing quite a lot of this sort of mixed media-y sort of background stuff with stamps on it, making stickers. I brought a really cool printable sort of activity book from Laura Blythman. I can't remember her name. I'll have to find it. I'll link her down below, and she makes like fabric and stuff. Oh, she's Australian, and she's made these really cool activity books, and her style just with the polka dots sort of reminds me of this. So those are those two. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Sorry to the mixed media people who have inspired me, because I cannot think right now. Oh, Inky Quill does lots of these sort of backgrounds, and I would usually wait for these to dry, so I might just pause this for a minute and go get my heat gun and dry these off so I can do the next layer without making too much mess. So I'll be back in. Okay, I've dried those off a little bit with my heat tool, but using that dry brush actually makes them quite quick to dry off. And then for that last one, I used these two colors, but I mean, this is just what I did. I'm just showing you exactly how I made mine. You do whatever you like. Where's that other paintbrush? So I mixed some of these two together because that teal was a little bit dark. And then I'm using a different brush to make different sized and textured brush strokes. So I'm just sort of doing these randomly. When I've done these sort of mixed media backgrounds in the past, I've done them on stickers to create little cutouts. And so you want to spread in those, and that's what I seem to be doing here. Spread your colors around the page, because you want to, I haven't made enough. You want like when you're doing the stickers, you want to be able to get like a little bit of each bit, you know, when you or if you punched out a shape, you don't want only to get the pink bit. So if you put a little bit of everything around the page, then you know you get a little bit of each thing each place. So I'm just doing that. But just be inspired by colors and textures and patterns that inspire you. I'm pretty basic and boring, so that's what my little ones are like. This is some minty color, which is a nice contrast to the darker green, but I know in those other ones to use that paintbrush, but I'm going to just try with this. I like how I've done each of my light green beside a dark green one, so they kind of always go together. That's just my thought. That idea is actually I was looking at some cake decorating the other day, and the lady was doing these ones where she was putting like icing beside each other, and I just thought that was really cool, always putting them together. I'm sure that's like a thing of some description. Who knows? I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, these are all very uniform. I feel like I'm getting a little bit too boring, but it's all good. Okay, and you can have these bits by themselves. They don't have to go together. I like leaving some white space because I just do. Oops, that's why I put this background on so I didn't paint on that. Okay, so there is those bits. Yep, that looks alright. Okay, so I'll move those paintbrushes off to the side. I'll just quickly dry this bit. I just use this Stampin' Up heat gun that I got on a D-stash or brought maybe years ago, but I just use that to dry off, so I'll just fast forward this bit. Okay, so these aren't exactly super dry, but what I might do is I'll just grab the drier ones, which might be these two, and I'll finish these off with you. There's some big lumps of paint I'm just going to spread out a bit so it's not going to make a mess. And then the next thing I do is my split. Well, I did on these ones was some Heidi Shine, some gold. You could use some glitter. I just like the sort of contrast that the Heidi Shine splatters always bring. I just splatter them randomly, no rhyme or reason. And then I will definitely dry those off. Okay, so that's pretty much dry, and then I just ripped little bits of this. Some bits are bigger, and then I used a glue stick. Because it's tissue paper, it's quite delicate. And then I just sort of filled in some of the white gaps. I obviously went over the other bits too. And not even in there. No, I'll just move that up. Just be gentle with the tissue paper because it's quite delicate. I liked how it looked coming off the edges, so I just sort of stuck the other bit around like that. You could achieve a similar look to this with maybe a background stamp. You could just partially stamp it on there, would look quite cool. Lost my paper. But yeah, I just absolutely love this tissue paper, and I'd probably use it on every single project I did if I could, because I just love the look that the little messy polka dots bring. And then I just think it's a really nice little extra and nice contrast to the colors that I've used. I'm sure there's like a technical term for it, but I like what it looks like. Won't use that, but they've got some color shine on it. I like it coming like in different directions too, so do some going like vertical, some going horizontal. Could just do some little bits in the middle. I like it covering the color, but also putting it over some of the white space because it really shines through there. And like, you don't need much. It's a really great way to use little bits of tissue paper. I know lots of people do sort of stuff like this with napkins, like what's it called, decoupage or something, collage. You know, there's like a thing, people cover their things with napkins. But anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. I think that it makes really fun backgrounds. You could cut this up and use it for things. You could, I used it to make the backgrounds of this tag flip. Yeah, really for anything. And you could just use this, and I just think it's really fun. So if you make something like this, or this has inspired you to give mixed media a go, I would love you to tag me in it. I'd love to see what you create. I'm really enjoying seeing everyone's creations at the moment. Even though I'm struggling a little bit to be creative, I am going to do some crafting today. So I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me and I'll do my best to answer them. See ya, bye.